All right, today we're going to talk about the compromises you have to make if you want to find a house in the Tampa area under $300,000. Stick around. I'm Sam. Thanks for coming by the Living in Tampa, Florida channel. Every single week, we release videos about what it's like to live, work, play, and move to the Tampa, Florida area. If that is something for you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Florida, so if you do have any real estate specific questions or needs, please don't hesitate to reach out. My phone number and email are right there on the screen. Let's get into it. Today I'm set up at Fred Howard Park. You see it right here on the map. This is this little park that sticks out off of Tarpon Springs. It's a cool little beach out here. There's all these like little pavilions you can do little cookouts at. I was in Colorado the last 10 years, so doing a cookout in a public park is a very like novel thing. Like you can actually bring charcoal and actually cook your food here. It's funny how it's like surprising that is to me, but it's a thing here. This is just one of the beautiful county parks here in Pinellas County. Hillsborough County has a lot of beautiful parks as well. And even Pasco County has a lot of beautiful parks and a lot of big like preserve areas and open areas. So that kind of brings us to the first thing when it comes to finding a house. Everyone's heard location as kind of the main driver of price, of competition, of all those kind of things. And that is really the number one factor. Being close to certain things, being far from other things, like being close to the city or being close to the beach, being far from crime, being far from traffic. All those kind of factors are big factors when you're thinking about the price of a home. But you probably clicked on this video because you want to know how to find a house under $300,000 in Tampa, because the average price is $280,000. But then you go on Zillow, you go on realtor.com, and everything seems like it's so much more expensive. So what's the deal? Location is a big part of that. Of course, we are all attracted to the most beautiful locations and the most beautiful homes. So those are going to be more expensive. But I want to talk about some of the ways that you can compromise to get a little cheaper of a house. And I'll use my own home as an example because we did make some very calculated compromises to get a house under $300,000. We did buy it last year. We bought it in September of 2020, and I'll kind of refer to that house throughout this video. So first, the location of our house is in Tarpon Springs. If we needed to commute to Tampa, even if we needed to go to the airport very often, it's kind of far. We don't have to do that. I mean, I'm a realtor, so I'm more working with clients on specific areas and specific projects. And we don't need to get into like downtown Tampa area very often. So it's really not inconvenient for us. We're also very close to the water. And that's kind of a good and bad thing. We're very close to the beach. This park right here, Fred Howard Park, is just a 5-minute drive from our house. But we're also in a flood zone, which brings some risk of flooding, of destroying our property. Yeah, that's a normal part of flood zones, but it also brings some extra expense. So how can you compromise on location to get a little lower on your price? One is just being a little further from your workplace or from where you really wish you were, or from where you want to go to have fun. The further you go from that, typically the cheaper it's going to get. I have some clients recently who I helped buy a house in Land O'Lakes, which you see that's this area right on the map. It really is like full of lakes. And she works in Oldsmar, which is way down here on the map. And it ends up being about a 40-minute commute for her to get to work. But their house was $315, 4-bedroom house on a big lot with a pool. And it's pretty renovated. It's pretty much in move-in condition. So there are ways to get that price really close to $300 and to get all those amenities as well. Sometimes you have to be a little further from the city. Okay, the second thing you can compromise on to get your purchase price a little lower: condition. I actually went on to the MLS, which is called the multiple listing service. It's like what realtors use to find houses. And I would just search, even before I did this video, of how many 3-bedroom houses are there in these 3 counties under $300,000. And there's like over 300 of them. Most of them are in poor condition. Most of them are cash only. I shouldn't say most of them. A lot of them are cash only, and they need work before you could really even move in. And then the next tier, you could move in, but nothing is updated. Maybe the kitchen hasn't been touched since the 70s, or it needs new flooring, or the paint is peeling off the wall. There's a lot of condition issues. And this is one way that you can compromise if you're willing to do some of that work and gain some of that sweat equity, or if you have the money to pay for that kind of work to be done and kind of customize the house to be your own, then that is one option and one way to get your purchase price a little bit lower. All right, the number 3 way to get your purchase price a little lower is compromising on size. When I pulled up that list of 3-bedroom homes under $300,000, you would have been shocked how small some of these 3-bedroom homes were. Some were under 1,000 square feet. I think one was even 800 square feet, considered a 3-bedroom house. And any additional room that has a closet can be counted as a bedroom. So they were really kind of stretching the line there. But this is one way to compromise. If you don't quite need that additional bedroom yet, then maybe you can look for a smaller home at this time and then sell it and buy something else later. I know if you've never bought a home before, it's kind of scary to think about buying one and then a few years later selling it and buying a different one. But most people only live in their house for 3 to 5 years. I think that number's going up a little bit, but that's still kind of the number that realtors use. 3 to 5 years on average is how long a resident stays in a house that they purchased. Usually after that, they sell it and buy something else. Another way to compromise on size is to think about the potential of the other spaces in the house. I'm closing on a house here in a few days that I had listed, and it's actually just a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath house. But the patio was insulated and enclosed, and then they put a bedroom in the garage. So that could make it a 4-bedroom house, which gives people a lot more options of how they could use the space. And that kind of thing happens a lot here. And you could always bring in contractors to do that work for you and make it feel really nice and seamless with the flow of your house. Okay, the 4th way to compromise to get your purchase price a little lower is compromising normalcy. So let me explain this, and I'll use my house as the example for this one. At my house, we don't have a garage or a storage shed, so I had to build a shed. And what else is kind of quirky about our house? Oh, we have this bathroom that's in the laundry room, but the bathroom's so small that if you sit on the toilet, you can't even close the door all the way because the door hits your knees. What else is weird about our house? Our house is very updated, but it's very poorly insulated. So the air conditioner bill is quite a bit higher in the summer than we expected. We're looking for some ways to remedy that this summer, but it was initially a shock and we didn't realize that it wasn't normal in that way. We also have really old windows. Even though the house internally is updated, our windows are still the original 1962 windows with the crank, and they open like this, which is actually really nice during storms and things like that. But they don't look very nice. They don't have much insulation value, but it is what it is. And that was a compromise. Those were all compromises we were willing to make to get this house for under $300,000. All right, the final way, the 5th way to get your purchase price a little lower in the Tampa area is to take on more monthly expenses. So our house, for example, we paid $292 for our house, but we have an additional $150 a month just for flood insurance because we are in a flood zone. Because the floor of our living room is 5 feet elevation. I think you have to be over 10 feet elevation to not have to pay for flood insurance. Because our house is in a flood zone, it actually sat on the market a little bit longer. So we weren't really competing against others to buy it. That was nice. And taking on those additional monthly expenses did help us to get the purchase price a little bit lower. Another example of an extra monthly expense might be a high HOA. Maybe some of these homes or condos with high HOAs, maybe they're not selling real fast, and sometimes that HOA payment is the deterrent for that. I would actually warn you though about HOAs. They do go up. They can bring in assessments to improve things, and so make sure you're planning out how that's going to change. Make sure you're asking those questions before you start just paying that. I hope you found this information useful, and I hope you see some ways that you could find a house in the Tampa area for under $300,000. If you want any help with your search, please don't hesitate to reach out. My phone number and email are right there on the screen. I love to connect with people who are moving here or even thinking about moving here. Please comment down below any other topics you'd like for me to cover, or any areas within the Tampa area that you are really interested in and you want to know more about. I'd love to make those videos specific to what you're looking for. Until then, see you later.